The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. Diggs.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, welcome to the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. The band Supposition is here. Eric and Nick. Here we go. I got introduced to him by my buddy Jake Erlitz. Jake is going to be in the big movie St. Louis Louie. We're going to be filming that trailer coming up this month. So Jake's the star playing St. Louis Robert. So congratulations, Jake, for getting that part.
It's an honor. It's an honor. I'm excited.
Jake was telling me about these guys. He's like, you got to have these guys on the podcast. I just listened to their new music. It's not out yet. It's called Straight Jacket. It's going to be out probably this month sometime.
Yeah, we're looking at about a month.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing music video. But we got another music video we're going to show Caillou in a little bit. But let's just kind of get into like
Kaiju. Caillou's the bald one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, yeah,
it's Kaiju.
Kaiju. So, well, welcome to the show. Kind of tell us a little bit about how this is a new form band, right? So you guys, this is kind of new.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So I guess Supposition started, I want to say like around 2017, whenever I just kind of had like the idea to throw some metal out on SoundCloud, and it wasn't really meant to be anything too crazy because I was already pretty invested into a project that I was already doing fairly well at the time. So it was just one of those like just back burner ideas. But as soon as the project that I was invested in kind of fell apart, I just kind of decided to go on more of like a 6-year hiatus. And in some point in that span of time, this guy had gotten a hold of that stuff and he was like really into it. Sent me a couple vocal tracks for just an earlier idea. And that ended up just kind of like spurring into a few more ideas. And then, I mean...
So you guys been on SoundCloud?
Well, it was for a bit. Since then, now that it's become more of a serious project, I've actually gone and like removed most of the old like demo takes and stuff like that, just because they weren't quite at the same production quality that we're capable of now. There are still a few ideas up there that were just kind of fun, but other than that, it's not really. That part's been dissolved for the most part.
Yeah. So this was like 6 years ago that you saw it, and then I guess through the pandemic, you guys kind of talked.
Yeah, we actually used to be roommates like back in 2016,
something like that.
2016.
Oh, okay.
We were both playing in separate bands at that point in time. I never really saw myself being in a metal band, but I've always had sort of a passion for it. And I remember he like started putting out some of the early Supposition stuff. I don't know if I was even one of the first people. Like he sent it to me, but. I remember thinking, I was like, this is awesome. You know, I hope this goes somewhere.
Right.
And then I moved to Nashville.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, it fell out of both of our minds for a good while. And then back in like 2021, I was like kind of going through the ropes of teaching myself how to scream. And I was looking for like instrumental tracks and stuff like that I could put my lyrics and stuff on. And I was like, it'd be kind of cool to maybe throw some vocals on one of those things that Nick did. And pulled up that SoundCloud and started working on it. And then, again, fell by the wayside. Both of us got into, like, big boy jobs,
right?
As some would call.
Well, it's funny because when people listen to metal that don't follow metal or a fan, they just think people are just screaming. They don't realize that there's actually training behind that you have to really train because you can fuck your vocals up really bad.
Oh, you'll hurt yourself real bad if you're doing it. Dude, the amount of times that I've been on a roll with it and then I just have one phrasing that's wrong will ruin the next 2 days. I'll have to like not talk or like really, really let my like voice recover. There've been a couple of times where I'm like, I might have done it. Like I might not be able to do this anymore. Like that was so wrong. It's definitely a step-by-step process, like really learning any other instrument. But once you kind of figure it out, you kind of figure it out and you can sort of work around it like that. But yeah, it was something where, you know, we worked on that idea very briefly and then it fell apart. Not fell apart. I don't even think for something to fall apart, it had to be something in the first place, and it wasn't anything yet.
That particular one didn't even catch the momentum.
Yeah, he sent me some of the initial ideas for Kaiju on Snapchat, I think, at the beginning of 2022. Yeah. No, beginning of 2023.
No, you're right.
Because it was last year. Yeah.
Historical accuracy.
Yeah, it's
important.
Right.
But yeah, he sent me those ideas, and I remember like hearing them. I was like on the verge of quitting my job already, and I was like, oh, these are pretty cool. Let's see if we can make this into something more. And I called in sick, and I drove up to St. Louis after he sent me a good chunk of something. I was like, okay, let's see how far we can push this. And one night we worked on it for, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours. We lost track of time, and all of a sudden it's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And we had hashed out the majority of the song. I was like, oh wow, this is a pretty doable workflow. I think that, you know, if we just keep pounding the pavement like this could turn into something of volume and substance pretty quickly. And that's what we did. Is we had it take the priority of our creative space in our lives, and we just kind of put it together in the course of like 2-3 weeks.
What's the writing process with like metal compared to maybe like just a different type of song, like a hip hop song or something? I mean, are you working on the music first, then the vocals?
Yeah, definitely the music first.
The instrumental is like that's the arrangement comes first, and then you figure out where everything's going to be in the mix, and then after you have the instrumental pretty much all kind of finalized, that's when you go back to add vocals, and then you create space for that vocals in the sonic space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I've been in a few different bands. I've been in like a pop rock band, like a Midwest emo band, and I've done just some like independent beat making and production work myself. And yeah, it's definitely different in the fact that like when people are writing a pop song, they'll almost have like a melody in their head first, and like an idea of like the vocals and the lyrics and stuff that like go into a part. And they build around the hook with this. It is, at least our style of writing is very sequential. Usually like it's chronological in the fact it's like, oh, we got this idea for an intro. Okay, well, where does it go from there? And
is that actually the intro? Yeah.
And I don't know. It feels like, for the most part, at least in the 2 songs that we have fully finished, it's been just like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As far as like building the song structure, and you usually start with the programming of the drums, right?
Normally I'll have a pretty reasonable lengthy riff in mind on guitar, and then I will immediately start to arrange drums behind that, and then by that time the guitar evolves and goes so far, because then I have like usually I have it in front of me, because at that point I'm okay at drums, but I'm not your drummer. I will arrange everything on my DAW, and I'll get everything set up in MIDI. And then I'll play that against my recorded guitar. Okay. And then I'll figure out, and then I'll re-record guitar a billion times until I finally have everything like nice and organized between those two. Go in, fatten it up with the bass, and then after that I go crazy trying to figure out what synth patches I'm going to use, and like everything else that goes behind that. But yeah, everything starts with the core metal instruments.
Okay. And so are you living in Nashville now?
Yeah, I've got a spot in East Nashville. We'll see how long that remains. I got an email last week saying that my landlord was having an assessor come out to the property, and that means that they could sell the house and leave
from underneath. Shit. Okay.
Me and my roommate.
We need to do a Kickstarter maybe on this.
Real high and dry kind of situation. If that happens, I'll probably.
What's the metal scene like in Nashville? Because in St. Louis, it actually has a pretty good following. I mean, there's some good venues that play a lot of metal. You know, with St. Louis, I think it's a pretty good metal town. But what would
big jazz town too?
Jazz town,
especially around Delmar. A lot of people out on the streets just playing saxophone.
For sure.
Yeah, Nashville's got a really cool metal scene. Both on the local front, and then larger bands that come through there have pretty good turnouts at their show, which is cool. I don't know what you would classify its market as, because I mean, you'd probably consider it an A-list if you group all of the country and pop artists that move through there and do massive ticket sales. But as far as metal is concerned, I'd say it's a little bigger than St. Louis. The thing about the St. Louis metal scene versus the Nashville metal scene is that it just seems like a lot of bands that identify as a St. Louis metal band are a little more active on the local front, whereas in Nashville, you have bands that are Nashville metal bands that don't really play out a whole lot,
Right.
Okay.
because they're really focused on the production value of it and
Right.
making it something that is like already pre-existing before they start playing shows.
I think
No,
that
that's-
plays a lot to Nashville being a town of no locals in general. Like,
Yeah.
people move to Nashville usually for music in one form or another, and so it's like more of a melting pot of just a bunch of people that are there for the production rather than just playing out for their friends.
You find that a lot of
Gotcha.
musicians, specifically metal musicians in Nashville, are people that could entirely produce the music themselves, be it play all the instruments, do all the vocals, and they usually collaborate with other people that also do that, which is pretty cool. It's a very like high quality output when you have people that know how to write each other's instruments,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. There's some of, I think, some of the best metal bands on the planet that are coming out of Nashville.
What's some? I mean, throw me some names because I'm like I said, I'm
There's a
familiar with them, but I'm
band,
not like
yeah, there's a band from there called Chamber
Okay.
that is astounding. They really blow my mind. I used to work with their guitarist at a coffee shop when I first moved down there, and I had no idea that he played metal, especially to the extent that they do. They're signed to Pure Noise Records, I believe. But I remember he's like, "Yeah, we're playing a show over at the end. If you want to come through, I know you said you like metal." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll check it out." I listened to his band on Spotify before I went over there. I was like, "Wow, this is really good." And then I saw it like live. I mean, they are a proper Nashville hardcore band. Like, they're from there. They've always identified as that. And there's a scene that's sort of like built up around them. They're really good. There's another band called Orthodox. So with Nashville, the metal and the hardcore scene, there's almost like a stronger hardcore scene there with like metal influence than I would consider like a metal scene, because it's such metal is such like a large umbrella of
it's pretty much a
music.
blanket term anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much under the umbrella of metal, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been meaning to personally get more involved with it, and I was hoping that I would have the opportunity to with what Nick and I are doing now, but I don't know if I'm going to be living there in 6 months.
You have worked with a lot of people in the music industry throughout your career.
Yeah.
Particularly in the Metallica variety. You want to talk?
Yeah.
talk about that a little?
Guitar tech from Metallica back in St. Louis in 2017, which was sick.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
You opened for him or what?
I guitar teched for them.
Oh, no
Like
shit.
tune
Yeah.
their guitars right before they went on
Yeah.
stage.
Well, I wasn't working in like their active stage crew. So what they were doing for that tour was like normally they have what's called like an A-B set, to where because it's a huge production and it takes, a couple days to get all of that in order. Normally what they would do just to jam in as many dates as possible is like have A set up and then send B to the next city and start setting that up while they're
Okay.
using A and then breaking it down. And
That's
then they
smart.
just,
Well, they were 2 days here in St. Louis last year, and it was amazing. It was like the most amazing show I heard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're sick. But what they were doing for that tour specifically is they were offering this VIP experience. It was like the Hardwired for Self-Destruct tour, if I recall correctly, to where they were bringing everything that they had with them, and they were setting up this VIP experience to where you had like all of the relics of their career, be it like old demo tapes and like lyric sheets and instruments and pictures and Polaroids and stuff in this like chronological timeline that showed, the course of their career. And at the end of that timeline were Metallica's instruments, like James's Explorer, Kurt's, he's got a variety of different ones. The one that we had was like the 8-ball. I think it was like a Kramer or something like that. And then Rob Trujillo's bass. And they were plugged into Axe Effects units that had all of their presets of tone like loaded into them, so where you could like pick up and you could play and you could sound like Metallica. And these people would, go through this whole thing and check everything out. And then at the end of it, they'd have those instruments there that they could play. And everybody's like, "Oh, I don't know how to play the instrument." I'm like, "Listen, just pick it up. Just don't drop it."
Right.
Just put your hand here, hit it here, and I'll do everything on the pedal board and make it kind of sound like you're playing in a Metallica song, and that's what I did there. And then I was responsible for making sure that first off, no one destroyed their instruments, and secondly, that they got where they needed to go safely. So I wasn't like actively working, tuning up their guitars like before they ran out. I mean, they've probably been working with the same dude for like the last like 50 years. It's just their buddy who's doing all that stuff. But there are so many people on tours that size. And if one of them drops out, it becomes a huge problem. I remember I got the text from my friend asking me, he's like, hey, what are you doing next week? I'm like, I don't know, what's up? She's like, you want a guitar tech for Metallica? I'm like, oh shit.
Wow,
yeah. I mean, is water wet?
Right. So did you get to meet him? Did you get to?
Yeah. I got to meet James and Rob. I didn't meet Kirk. But funny enough, actually, a couple years later, when I had first moved down to Nashville full time, I was working at this coffee shop called Frothy Monkey. It's actually where I worked with Gabe from Chamber. And I was at the register, just dealing with the droves of bachelorettes that come through downtown Nashville, and everybody else is touring through there. And I'm very detached from reality. I'm just like going through the cycle of like punching in orders and next. Right. And I'm like looking down, I'm not making eye contact with people anymore. It was a really bad day. And and I see like the hands like come up and like rest on the counter, and they're like covered in like old tattoos, and there's like a Metallica tattoo, like I think it was on his left hand. I'm like, this guy must really like Metallica, and I like look up and it's James. I'm like, hey dude. It's like, well, he's just like, hey, I know you. And I'm like, yeah. I guitar teched for you once back in St. Louis a couple of years ago. He's like, that's right, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, just think all the people they meet.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I remember because he like came in, and I didn't really know like what I was like pretty starstruck. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
You know, when he came in, he's like, hey, you're handling my guitars, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you know how it works? And I'm like, I do. He's like, you're not gonna break anything, are you? I'm like, no. He's like, all right, you're all right. Wow, and cool. that was the exchange that I had of him. But yeah, he ordered. I think that I should make note of this. At Frothy Monkey, he ordered the children's pancakes as his order. Yeah, I was like, anything you want, man. Normally, I tell people that if you're over the age of 12, you can't. But,
right. No, you don't want to tell him that, though.
Yeah. No, they're really really nice dudes.
Yeah,
actually. Cool. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. I don't know. That'd be cool if we could open for Metallica one day.
That's one of my favorite documentaries. Is that documentary with
the Some Kind of Monster?
Yeah.
That's
you
iconic.
really see like how a band like behind the curtain. Yeah.
I was in a band with a dude from Nashville, and him and I would always joke. There's like a line from that where they're like writing riffs, and Lars is giving his input on the guitars, which a drummer shouldn't do if they can't play the guitar. And he's going, he's like, I don't know, man. It just sounds so stock. Like any time, we'd be writing something, we're just not feeling it. We'd break the tension, being like, I don't know, man. It just sounds stock. Yeah.
That's funny. So, well, do you want to play the song, and so we can kind of talk more
let's give it a rip. What do you think? It's probably like the 8,000th time.
Jake, jump in a little bit, Jake.
No, the song sucks. Don't play. I'm just kidding. No, I'm actually a big fan, especially after seeing Eric over all the years and all the different bands he's been into. We've always sat in the car, screaming our heads off to heavy metal. So to see him now pursuing it is, it's inspiring to me. See my friend living up to his dreams. So I think they are doing a great job with this. I literally listen to this song almost every day on my way to work, so they're doing a good job. So.
Me too.
Here it is, guys. Ready to rock your fucking socks off! I can say fuck on this shit.
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
I never asked.
Epstein did not kill himself.
Oh.
Epilepsy warning.
Probably should have put one in there.
Good luck.
I think it's kind of funny because obviously we proofed this video and it's been out on the internet for a long time, but I rewatch it and I'm still like anxious about spelling errors.
Yeah, do you think the Chinese is misspelled?
Oh, I think I did. I'm not a good speller.
There isn't any misspelling, but I just have a lot of anxiety about things.
Oh, gotcha.
I get
That's one
that.
of them.
I do the same when I'm rewatching my movies. I was like, oh, I definitely missed that. Are those Japanese lyrics at the bottom?
Yeah, the Japanese.
Oh, duh, kaiju.
That run still kills me.
It's more than this. More than the chaos, more than the dissension, more than the vacancy. It was our right to build the walled garden and keep the rest of us outside. Fuck your power. Where's all money? I won't listen. You can't find me.
Wow.
I want to give a quick shout out to Max Blar-Rossetti. That guy came in clutch and gave us some of the most intense solo work that I've ever heard. So we reached out so that he could give us one, and he really did. That
Yeah,
guy
I got-
killed it.
Absolute machine. So we were potentially working with another guitarist just to be maybe even a part of our band.
Yeah.
And we had the song like done, and we were waiting for the solo that he said he would write to come through, and it just didn't really ever happen. I was like, okay, we gotta make a move here. And our producer Bryant, who also played a lot of the drums on this song, he was like, "Well, check this guy out. He's really good." And we're like, "Yeah, let's give it a whirl." And we hit him up. He's like, "Yeah, just give me like a day." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, he'll have some ideas." He has like 3 ideas for that solo that are that good, that tight, quality. And he's like, "Well, which one's your favorite?" And it's like, dude, like, it's like
Right.
all of these. It's like picking your favorite child. These are all like so high quality. And it was originally just the first solo, and it ended up being a thing where we're like, "Well, we have that reprise there. Would you want to like toss something over that as well?" He's like, "Yeah, totally." And like 30 minutes later, he sends that over clean, and I'm like, dude, it's like
Yeah.
it makes me want to like never even look at my guitars again. But yeah, he's an absolute unit.
The ending part, like, reminded me when it says "Don't buy me," or in the last couple words.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
reminds me of, like, the media, like how they try to, like. So it's almost like reminds me think what's going on in the world right now with like the media and everything trying to with control and how they're with
You can trust
corporations.
us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Safety.
Well, that's like the whole theme of the song, from a lyrical perspective, and even a name for that. So like the name kaiju, traditionally when people hear it, they think of like Godzilla or Mothra or like something like that.
Yeah.
An unstoppable force.
Yeah, I was looking at something as like a man-made perversion of nature, especially in like the sense of like corporations being the kaiju, or the military-industrial complex being the kaiju,
Right.
depleting the resources for this like infinite growth model of profit and capitalistic endeavor. And having worked for a couple of corporations myself, and just kind of seeing how they will destroy everything in their path, be it like nature or the mental health of their employees for the sake of like eking out a few more dollars and bringing up the bottom line. It's just something that like personally resonates with me, and that I have like a lot of strong feelings towards. And it just felt kind of natural. This is like a pretty heavy, sort of powerful song. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's try and back that up thematically. The ending part was like a proper bookend to that rage.
Right. Right.
It's probably my favorite part of the song.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I like the whole thing, but I'm saying like the ending remind me could be like in the movie, or it just sound like a soundtrack or something like that. Like,
Thematically, I had kaiju kind of arranged to be more of like a metal ballad almost. So it was it when it followed up and Eric had that great idea for the outro, it was money.
I remember being on the phone with Nick, and I was like, we gotta end this thing. I want people to like finish hearing that track and feel like they just got assaulted.
Right.
Like just as heavy as we can possibly drive that in.
Right. Well, if they remade 1984, they would probably use that song.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I've been reading a book recently called "Amusing Ourselves to Death," and there's like a constant referencing of both 1984 and Brave New World. I've been meaning to go back and reread 1984 because that is quality content to mine,
Right, especially if you
creative.
like what's going on now with shit.
For sure. Have you read or do you know anything about Aldous Huxley's Brave New World?
No, but that's on my list though.
It's
It's kind of both 1984 and Brave New World are like dystopian futures, but the realities affected a little bit. They took like different trajectories where you have George Orwell looking at things being like a dictatorship, lockstep, like every thought is monitored and people stay in line out of fear. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is that same future dystopia, but instead of people using fear as a reason to behave, rather in this version, they're using like pleasure and distraction and just being inundated with so much stuff that they don't care about the slow erosion of their freedom.
Sounds like Cyberpunk.
Yeah, could be. I have not played it, but
Play it pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah, pretty good.
but yeah,
I'm still trying to get through it.
all of that, all this like dystopia, that we read about in school or just even in our own time, and being like, well, that'll never happen. America is the greatest nation on the planet. And then you just like,
Now it seems pretty prophetic.
take a step back and, you just sort of like look around and you're like, uh-oh, these guys were pretty dead on. That's spooky. Maybe we should have listened.
So for like the marketing of your band, like what's the kind of steps? Or it's probably a lot different with metal than it is with like pop or something else, right? I mean, there's
Yes
not
and no.
many. I mean, you were talking about the one label with the one band you were talking about earlier, but is there a lot of labels there or metal labels? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a lot.
There's a lot of metal, so there are a lot of different there's a lot of companies that kind of take on like particular subgenres. So you've got like Rise that takes a lot of like the more popular metalcore stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have someone else like Sumerian who might do more of the technically heavy and more
Progressive.
progressive driven. Yeah.
Right.
And so like there's just companies like throughout metal that kind of grab onto like a good group.
And you got Sleep Token that just signed up RCA,
RCA,
which is what, Sony? Like the biggest conglomerate on planet Earth.
Like they're up there with like some of the most famous rappers you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
So you guys taking this obviously on Spotify and different platforms. Are you guys touring soon? Or are you guys going to come to like?
Yeah. We finally just found a drummer that's actually capable of playing what we and Bryant have written.
Right,
so that just opened up a realm of possibilities of doing shows that we're really excited about. We were actually just discussing it on the way over here.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because like up until this point it's been Nick and I, and you can't put on a 2-person metal show and carry the intensity that you'd probably like to.
Well, without a drummer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be pretty
Without
lame.
somebody behind the set fighting for their life, it's it's so much different. So like I'm wearing the shirt from it. I went to the Death Clock show with Baby Metal, Death Clock, and Jason Richardson.
Wow.
And
See a little bit, but yeah.
Jason Richardson's probably my favorite guitarist, period, out there, point blank. I love the guy. He's an absolute unit. And watching him on stage play was awesome, but like it's just not nearly as entertaining watching a metal act without having someone fighting for their life behind the drum kit. I love watching it. I love seeing it because usually like they're just like they look like they have 8 arms.
One of the most expressive performances that occurs in a band is the drummer. There's the most movement usually from your drummer.
It's funny. I was literally watching Whiplash this morning.
Right.
But yeah, so if Luke Holland could have been with Jason instead of with Falling in Reverse on that same time frame, that would have been a hands down completely different show.
Absolutely.
Are there bands that you would say would be better like in like the studio, and then the bands are better live?
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah, I would say a vast majority of bands out there are much better in studio because there is so much production magic that is so accessible these days.
Right.
Like as far as like arrangement goes, I'm not collegiate or anything like that, but I have access to and I have enough practice with a lot of the stuff that you can do in production that I can get a pretty reasonable mix, and then all the producer has to do at that end is just take it, kind of like adjust stuff, like do it to where they would do it, and then throw a master on, and then bam.
I think that's a goal that a lot of bands have.
For sure.
Serious bands is to make their live performance sound as good or be as impactful. Because I think that's where you really start to see growth in a fan base is when you just put out an absolute banger of a record, and then the live show, because now you've employed a visual element on top of the audio. For it to be that next step, because you start to like almost venture off into like a spiritual realm. Because there have been shows that I've been at and I've been standing in the audience. I'm like, this is a moment. Like this is like a very, very impactful moment. And you can kind of get that in your car when you're listening to something and you know it's really connecting with you. But like there's something about seeing it in front of you, hearing it at like eventually deafening volumes.
right.
That just makes such like a notable impact, but it's hard to get there. It takes a lot of time and coordination and a large team of people to like manage all of those moving parts.
Right.
Really
and
tight.
it's sort of, like putting on an incredible live show is kind of the holy grail of, first off, it's the most fun thing to do as a band.
You make me
want
to go to a concert. I haven't been in so long, dude.
It's so much fun to put on a show.
Yeah.
But it's also, what's even more fun to like put on a really good show is to like witness that someone else is enjoying being there as much as you are like doing it.
Right.
Like that's when it becomes a moment. It's like, oh, like this can't really happen without an audience kind of a thing.
Right.
It's like the first time you see a fan or a friend shouting back your lyrics back to you.
That is a crazy feeling.
That feeling, like that tingling from like the
that's
base of your neck down to the crack of your ass, and you're just like, whoa.
That is
that person.
amazing.
We're together in this moment.
Exactly.
I always find it funny when I go to a local show and people are like, come up to the stage. They're trying to call people to come up to the stage. It's like, if you're good, man, they're going to come up to the stage. Like,
Yeah, for sure. They're gonna be closely watching what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so interesting because I've been guilty of being that guy that's like, everybody up to the front. We're in this together kind of a thing.
Right.
Unbeknownst to my knowledge, I'm actually driving them further away.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
That's
Fuck
cool.
you, I won't do what you tell
But
me.
yeah, just to sort of circle back, I don't know if we ever actually answered your question about, what it looks like to market something
Right,
as an independent artist, because that's something that we've been asking ourselves, like, what's the best route?
It's always changing. I mean,
Oh yeah,
with
it's
the
constantly, and
technology
there's
stuff,
been
yeah.
a big. Actually, you can kind of see it on the TV here. So if you go down to like the featured tab and you scroll over one, so go back
okay.
up.
Oh, okay.
There's a video made by a gentleman by the name of Orion. He's so scroll down. Just you're on the right page. If you scroll down, you see where it says featured, and
right
then
here?
you have our song right there. And if you go over one video,
Oh, okay.
I'm listening.
yeah. So like this is something called a react.
Yeah.
And it's
cool.
where
I remember you
someone
sent this to
takes
me.
your song and then they record their response of.
Oh yeah, Facebook mutes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing your song on like Facebook Reel when you can pick a song just to put in the background. Your song was just up there. I didn't have to look it up or nothing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there you go.
So like what he did, he like took our song, played it, watched it, recorded himself.
But did you
Doing
know
that.
this guy? Did you know this guy?
Not personally. We found him through. There's like I actually call it like a distribution platform.
Okay.
On Instagram, that one of our friends' bands used, and we hit them up. We're like, "Hey, do you have like any outlets for our music to be distributed?" They're like, "Yeah, we work with some influencers. We have our platform. If you want to submit and see if it's something that they'd be interested in
But
doing."
he could say something bad about it. I mean, he could be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is
Oh,
dog shit.
100%.
So it's a
Hey, man.
crapshoot. Yeah.
Any press is good press.
That's true.
We were
That's
just
true.
talking
When you're this small,
Right.
like anybody talking about you is a small victory at the end of the day.
That's true. That's a
but
good point.
at the end of the day, you have to rely on the quality of your musicianship to kind of speak for
Right.
itself. So even if people are talking shit about our song, we know it's pretty good. Like it's something that
Yeah.
Because they're talking about it.
we'd like to listen to on our own. So I don't really like have that worry anymore. At one point in time, I was very self-conscious and insecure, in the quality of my music. So somebody saying something negative about it would have crushed me.
Yeah.
But as you grow up and you put in more work and more practice, other people's opinions, negative or positive, don't have as much weight.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so like just as far as like distributing this, he has a pretty big channel, and a lot of people find a lot of really good. I've found a lot of really good bands
have
just
too.
listening to his YouTube. I mean, he's on all
Yeah,
platforms of
his
social
editing
media.
style. I mean, he's got charisma. Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
good.
he's good. But there's like a
can see him
couple.
Popping up on my TikTok.
There's a couple reacts. So like that was
See
a
me
big
doing
way that our song got distributed on the internet, and then also people on Spotify liking it and putting it in their playlist, and their playlist might have a certain amount of followers, and those people save the song, and then it kicks into their algorithm at some point, which has been really cool and crazy to see.
It's paid off a
'cause-
couple
Wow.
times.
yeah, because like there would be like I remember there was one day we had like 100-something monthly listeners on Spotify, and I kind of like keep tabs on that, and I just opened it up one day. I was driving back up to St. Louis, and it jumped from like 100-something up to like 666, and I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's metal.
Right.
Hell yeah, Satan. But yeah, just like the algorithm just tossed it into a bunch of playlists, and people were like, oh, this is cool. And like, I don't know if they sent it to other people or what happened, but yeah, there's just like this like big jump. And then what you want to look at beyond just like a big jump in listenership is the retention of that to see, because not everybody likes metal with screaming vocals. Most people don't actually. And
I got to be in the right mood. It just
yeah,
it's
for
been-
sure,
yeah,
for
for
sure.
me personally, yeah.
Same, to
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah,
But yeah,
I'm that personally.
nevertheless,
always into
you
it.
just like kind of watch how many people listen to it, and then how many people follow,
Yeah, right.
which is a big part of it, and then how many monthly listeners exist a few months down the road, because that's where you can kind of like actually gain accurate metrics for growth.
Right.
And we've had the song out now for 4 months,
Oh, wow.
3-4 months or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was the end of November. And it's circulated pretty well, better than I would have really expected.
Right.
So it's been pretty cool to watch that. We have a couple of things that we're gonna do for this next song that we're gonna put out that we learned along the way with
This is,
Kaiju.
we're not going to show anything up from it because it's coming out. Straight Jacket, you're talking? Or
Yeah,
or-
yeah. So
Right.
once we have the final cut from our I used to call him our director. He's also our editor.
Yeah.
Once we've got that, what we're going to do is we're going to be breaking that video up into shorter clips and reels and stuff like that. And we're going to take advantage of the ads manager on the Meta platform.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of resources online and how to optimize that for your specific thing that you're marketing.
Right.
And we're thinking about doing that ourselves. We also might potentially be hiring someone to run those ads for us. I think that could be a really advantageous thing. Got a couple people in mind. We'll do that. Probably hit these guys up again and see if they're interested in, you know, redistributing or reacting to Straight Jacket, because he said that he was. So I hope that he's still down. I hope that, you know, we didn't take a big enough step backwards for him to be like, maybe not this one actually. Like, why don't we try again?
Right.
I don't see that happening with a full production.
No,
music
I
video
don't
at the
think
scale
so
that we
either.
took.
I'm pretty excited about this next one coming out. Maybe even more than this one.
It's pretty undeniable. As soon as we have that last edit back, I've never been so confident in a single that we've done or that I've done myself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's probably, I don't know. Like, it feels weird and self-congratulatory to like talk about how excited you are about something that you're putting out. But
I'll pat
yeah,
myself
we
on
put
the back. I put a lot of work into it.
a lot of work, dude.
Right.
And we hit every freaking snag along the way of getting this song done. Like, anything that could have gone wrong, the first thing. So we hit up our producer. His name's Bryant Lowry. I used to work with his old band and play shows with this old band, and you know, we just kind of became buds. And he did all this stuff on Kaiju, as far as like mixing, mastering, post production, and then did a lot of the drums in it. We hit him up with Straight Jacket because we had the demo done. Like we thought that we had pretty much everything like in place, like ready to send over to him. And the second that we got into like production work, there was an update to the interface and the plugin that Nick uses for all of his guitar tones that like wiped everything.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, so we've got to like go through and retune all of the guitar tracks, which there are a lot of guitar tracks. And then there's
I had to go retrack everything.
Yeah.
Like
so
last second.
we do all of our production remote, which means that we have to send all of these like stems and individual files up into the air and then have them, you know, find their way onto Bryant's computer and make coherent sense and be in time and be properly zeroed out.
Wow,
so there's a lot of logistics and like getting all the files over to him and to have a large chunk of that be disrupted. And then I recorded all the vocals for the entire thing and somehow did not notice that they were all peaking. Like, every single take that I had was too loud to use, and I couldn't like go back in with like a compressor or EQ or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, and then I got sick and then I got snowed in for a week. So it was like this like crazy frustration of like having more time than I knew what to do with and being not at my best to, you know, scream into a microphone for like 2-3 hours, and just like not being happy with the takes that I got and knowing that I was really happy with the takes that I previously recorded but did not record correctly. So there was like that. And then just from there, like once we finally got everything over to him, it was all pretty smooth and straightforward.
And I don't know if this speaks for other creatives, which I'm sure it does, but like I get so frustrated when I have to rehash a month's worth of work in an hour.
Right. Well, yeah. I hate when like just editing video and your computer crashes and you got to go back like the last 3 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I've done that
I was
too.
gonna
It's-
say,
Even though it's just 3 minutes of work, it's still
You were
like, fuck,
talking
dude, I
about
already did this shit.
sending over the audio, and when I do my gaming channel, I have to do the Oculus and then my voice on the camera, and I have to sync those up. And sometimes the game will like fuck with that when I cast it out, and so my movements won't match with my voice. I'm like, all right, well, what's gonna look better? Me moving with the movements and having a delay, or just redoing the whole fucking video and having to do it again, getting it matched up perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
There's
frustrating.
no free lunch with creative work. There's going to be something. It doesn't matter how skilled and proficient you are, you're going to hit a snag somewhere, whether it's like your incompetence or someone else's incompetence or technology just waving its middle finger at you.
Yeah, what do you think of technology with the AI? Because he was telling me he's like, well, you can edit now. You can drop the shit in and it can edit stuff for you. Like, with AI, it's going to make people be able to make music easier, I guess, which is kind of a good thing, but then it's kind of going to oversaturate because then like it's going to take away from the people that are really talented and that know how to do. I don't know.
Yeah, so I've been following AI culture pretty closely.
Yeah.
Like I've been I even did a little bit of the beta stuff for the Google's version of GPT. Bard.
Gemini. Yeah, what was Gemini?
It was Bard. I don't know if they're separate or what. Anyways, I don't think that AI is going to stifle a creative too much if you are serious about your job. If you're serious about what you want to do. AI's limitations are that it's impossible for AI to be intuitive to a degree that you can't just have it create things for you. Like it'll do editing, it'll do some basic scratch work, but as far as like composing your next piece, it won't do it for you.
Where it's at right now, I think a lot of people and creatives would be crippling the quality of their output if they did not utilize it in some sense. You can't rely on it fully to be creative. You have to be the creative spark and like piece of stardust that, you know, prompts this machine to give you the quality output that you're really looking for. It's because I've used it in a couple different aspects.
I use GPT frequently.
I just typed this. Welcome to the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. That's not even my voice. I didn't record it.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
It's pretty wild. But I definitely think that like when you're using like really large platforms with a lot of different tools and plugins and things that you can do, but not necessarily having the direct knowledge of how to use them, using that as like your guide could be really, like, I remember I was having a lot of time, or a really hard time installing a plugin, specifically the plugin that he uses for guitar.
Yeah. Which
having in my possession would make it a lot easier for us to exchange ideas and consistently be able to like throw takes back and forth. And what I ended up doing was I got a subscription to GPT and I was like, hey, can you help me troubleshoot this specific issue that I'm having here? How do I install Neural DSP and then the Gojira suite and then make it work in Logic Pro X? Can you explain it to me in terms for a 5th grader? And it did. And it was like, it was very step-by-step basic, like direct information. And I was able to knock it out. Like something that I had been like hitting walls with for like,
the way to use it.
Like a couple weeks.
In my inexperience with Logic, I was useless and trying, like he'd call me and we were on the phone for like an hour or two once. We were just trying to figure it out, shooting this back and forth, and we were getting frustrated because we just couldn't.
Yeah, just using it for that, or like they have like all of these like plugins and purchasable packages where AI assesses your data and applies a filter, or based off of like reference materials of like the tone packs used inside of a space is analyzed by AI, and then they like tune all of the dials and the parameters of what you're trying to do. And using it in that aspect, it's a very useful tool.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as being utilized as a tool, I think that it's going to have its own space in the field. But if you're going to rely on it too heavily to do your master for you, I don't think that's going to be. Yeah, that's not really a possibility, because there's the human aspect, because you're never going to get it perfect. But at the same time, you're going to find these frequencies that you hear that sound good together that the AI might interpret as being just noise. And stuff like that. Like, it's when you nail down the mix and you get it down in, you're really relying on your ear and how you perceive that sound.
It's also notable because I've heard some of these like AI generated songs, and technically speaking, they are 100%. Like the quality of the output is professional, but it lacks the spirit and the soul.
Right. I heard like a Taylor Swift song. Like it was something about the Kelsey guy or whatever his fucking name is. And so, but obviously I could tell it was fucking fake. I could tell, but it did sound like Taylor Swift though.
Right. To somebody that was maybe just getting into Taylor Swift or into whatever artist, they might be fooled at first, but then they hear the actual production of that person, and I guarantee they go back and they start to hear discrepancies and like maybe a phasing in the voice or something because the AI can't.
It's almost like CGI, yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
exactly.
still in like uncanny valley territory. Like whenever you see like a deep fake of someone famous, like it's pretty close.
Like the Flash,
or like Biden.
I know why we're not talking about buttered
Yeah,
sausage.
like
we're
Biden
talking about buttered sausages.
doing an ad for Fleshlight. It's like this looks pretty close, but I don't think I think I know his character just enough.
we
to
have
be
the
able to
best
say-
flashlights.
Right.
Buy it now.
Well, you see, I could totally see Donald Trump doing an ad for Fleshlight because that's within
Right.
his
We
character.
have the best flashlights.
I do. I
I
see
mean,
those
those shoes, man. Those shoes are
Those Joe Rogan
shiny.
fucking deep fakes where they're trying to sell either Viagra or
yeah,
like
yeah,
trying to get you to sign up for government, but it's Joe Rogan. But you can see his mouth isn't even moving, and it's very.
I mean, you have like all of these modes of technologies and medias over the course of time being exploited by con artists, and I mean, at first, it was like the telephone where they would be calling grandmas and telling them that their grandchild needed funds and stuff like that. And,
I could see it like my
it's
dad or
just
my
like
grandpa
the
falling for shit like
biggest
that all the
evolution.
time.
Yeah, it's just like the newest evolution of that. And I don't know, like with technology, you can look at it as a threat or you can look at it as an ally, and it's both. Like technically,
It's
it
both.
really just depends
That's
on
the
like
best way to describe it.
it depends on how much you have your head on a swivel and how much you're actually willing to like go and explore it yourself versus listen to somebody tell you why it's good or bad.
It's like drugs. It depends on how you use them, people.
Right. Well, social media, the same way. I mean, there's good things about social
Pill for
media.
a headache, good. Heroin, bad.
Certainly.
Well, we'll start to wrap up the show here.
Yeah,
So, where can they find you at Spotify? I got your subscribe to
pretty
your
much.
YouTube channel here. So,
Anywhere you can listen to music, you can find our music.
Before we go, I was wondering, Eric, if we could maybe get a little scream going for the audience, maybe?
Oh geez, dude, you get these things like compressed, right?
yeah,
I don't know if I should do that just because I mean, I guess it's at the end.
It
If
is
they're
your
listening this far, what do you want me to say?
Why they always send the poor.
Should I turn this thing down a little? Or
So you know
Yeah,
what?
I'll come.
should I turn the audio down?
I'll back up a little bit.
Okay.
Someone playing the song?
Yeah, I heard Kaiju.
Oh, it's probably
Oh, okay, wait, yeah.
Why they always send the poor?
Thank you. Beautiful.
That's beautiful. Our cat probably ran under the bed and probably
Wait, is there a cat down there?
the cat's upstairs. But yeah,
Oh, dang.
so
Big cat guy.
yeah,
Big cat guy over here.
but
Yeah, we've both got several.
Yeah.
so
So what were you asking?
I got your page up here on YouTube. How else can they,
Yeah, YouTube's good. We'll have that music video out here within the course of hopefully by the end of the month.
Let me
There's
know. I'll share the hell out of it on there.
yeah, that'd be awesome. There's a lot of hoops to jump through with like planning a proper distribution, and whenever you go through the channel, they usually give you a timeline of what's like considered a safe upload. So like all your album art, your visualizers, your lyrics, things like that properly hit. Usually is about like a 2-week window. I know that our editor, he's on tour right now. I think that actually they just played their last show
think
and
they just
this
played their
leg of the
last show.
tour
Yeah.
last night. So we probably should have who knows if he nails it on this next edit, we'll be immediately like plugging everything into the distribution portals and hopefully having it out by the very beginning of April.
And his feet's on the ground.
That'll launch on YouTube for sure. And we're trying to time it out to where it comes out on YouTube and Spotify at the same time. We've been toying around with the idea of doing a debut release to where like we have people, if they want, to go to our website or our social media portals and join like a mailing list to where we can send them like direct, like in real time updates, be like, hey, this is dropping in 30 minutes kind of a thing. And like shoot it to their
Like a Discord?
Yeah, shoot it to their email, shoot it to their text, to whatever, platform they're looking for. And that will provide the link of like where to go find it. Cool. But yeah, we'll have the visual element on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music.
I'm
Those
excited.
are
It looked
Are there
great.
any other streaming platforms besides
needs to be,
Spotify and
though.
Apple
Yeah, I
Music?
know.
Well, I guess that you have like what was the one
Blockbuster
that
Video. Is that website still on?
Yeehaw.
What was the one title? Was that Dr. Dre or Jay-Z's platform?
Oh, really? I don't
Yeah, it's
remember.
like a slightly higher quality of streaming, and then it's like a little more. You see like more like producer credits, like engineering credit.
It's
it's
kind of
just
like a Venmo,
musicians.
kind
yeah,
of
it
site, yeah.
kind
Kind
of
of like how
like
iTunes used to be.
it's a streaming platform specifically for neurotic musician and production people that want to know all of the nitty gritty fine details of like how your song was created and who was involved. The problem is that most of the population doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
And
Sadly,
yeah, but I mean, Spotify's been pretty good to us, you know, as an independent artist here, and that is contrary to most people's disposition towards Spotify. Most artists hate Spotify. I think it's okay. As a matter of fact, if anybody working at Spotify happens to hear this and they want to upregulate our stuff inside of an algorithm somewhere, that would be sick. But Spotify, YouTube.
Cut this.
We're about to
clip
get
for a Spotify ad.
we're about to get a lot more active on our social medias. Be it that we have more content now to actually
And now that we have the human elements
around, and we're going to be, you know, working with our prospective drummer here soon, and him and his wife have an audio visual photography and videography business. So that could be a great opportunity to just pump out content, because that's what people want to see, is they want something new constantly.
Right. And they're ADD filled.
Yeah, for sure. So we're
They
looking
need
at
something to watch while they're doom scrolling.
yeah, we're looking at navigating that space here as a very serious conversation in the next couple of weeks. I'm very, very excited to you know, move this project into the next step of seriousness, and just kind of watch it take shape on its own. You know, we've been putting a lot of the effort in ourselves, pushing the rock up the mountain, and it'd be kind of cool to, you know, like kick it over and watch it roll for a little while, and then chase it down and push it up the next mountain.
Absolutely.
Hopefully at that time it's more like a plateau and small incline.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, thanks again for being on the show. Jake, do you want to do any shout outs now? You got your own unsupervised productions? And
I put a hold on that right now. And I've dropped out of my Frisbee golf days to focus on pool.
Okay, so he's playing the great St. Louis Roberts, pool hustler. There was part of the color money, and so
that right now. So my projects are on hold as of right now until we complete that together, because that's gonna be fun for the group to do, and I'm excited.
Well, check out the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs on YouTube, like the Artist United Network on Facebook, and check out the website, www.artistunitednetwork.com, and we guys will see you again. Actually, tonight, we have a show tonight, so see you at 7 o'clock, and we are out.
Thanks, guys.
Artist United Network.
I'm about to The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs.